Hello and welcome to another commentary video. Today we are going to be talking about what makes a good drama. Now for today, I'm going to be focusing on a new Turkish dizi that I started watching called It's Love or It's a Love. The reason I'm doing this is because over the course of 2023, I started watching 4 or 5 Turkish dizis that came out, while only 3 were able to actually interest me from beginning to end. So when the series came out, it looks interesting, I am enjoying it, and I thought it would be a good video to make on what makes a drama good for me. For this, I will be using various examples from not only Turkish dizis, but also telenovelas and Philippine teleseries that I have watched over the years. And if you have any idea what makes a good drama for you and what makes you continue to watch instead of giving up, you can also feel free to put it down in the comments below. Let's get to it. Now, before I go, let me give the biggest example as to why I'm doing this video. In this new story that I'm watching, It's a Love, the female lead is very annoying. There is nothing she's doing that I agree with. They are the villains in the story, and then there's her. So we know the villains are bad and she is a good person, but a lot of the things she's doing, scratch that, all of the things she's doing don't make sense to me and annoys me. Yet, I can see myself watching this till the end. It's not over yet, so they can lose me at some point, but I can see myself really enjoying the series. Compare that to Sapphire that I started watching, where the female lead didn't annoy me. Most of the things she did was also wrong, but I was not against her. I found her interesting. I found her problems interesting within the bubble of obviously it's a drama, but unfortunately Sapphire lost me around episode 7. Okay, no. Sapphire lost me around episode 5, but I stuck around for as long as I could until I couldn't do it anymore. That is the point of this video, just me trying to discuss and share why it is that I can watch particular dramas and I can't watch some others. Now that I've mentioned all that, let's get to It's a Love.
Ne diyor?
Ya işte Yasin bu çocukların amcası diyor.
Ne diyor?
I should mention that there are going to be spoilers for every TV show that I mention in this video. They might be major to you, they might not be major to you, so I'm giving you a warning ahead of time. The summary of the show I am talking about today is basically about a woman, Yeşil, who is in prison for murdering a man that killed her friend who came to save her from a marriage that she didn't want to be in. His name is Ersin. And Ersin's family is made up of his twin brother, his younger sister, his wife, and his father and mother. After his death, they are still in mourning, and Yeşil is in prison, where she formulates a plan to keep herself safe for the day she finally leaves not just herself, but her children as well. She not only lies to her kids, but she also plans to lie to Ersin's family that her kids are his kids. Now, whenever I watch a drama, it doesn't always start off on the right foot. Sometimes it can be very frustrating right from the beginning, but there are always little things that I can pick up on to look forward to. I'll give an example. When Fazilet and them started, I thought that Hazan was going to fall in love with Yaz. Immediately after I saw the scene where his car poured water on her and she was cursing at the car as it drove away, and it showed him with her behind. So I was like, wouldn't it be interesting if she fell for him and he for her? They're from different worlds obviously, so it's going to cause some drama. But then it was later revealed that she liked his brother, Sinan. And then I thought, oh great, it's going to be that playboy falls in love with a girl that he has never looked at before, and then he learns to become a better person while her mother does what her mother does in the background. So as the story progressed, there were different things to look forward to. Then they introduced a new woman who brought on the storyline of one of the kids is hers. That is what dramas bring to me. As I watch it, I make predictions into what might happen, and it holds me as the story progresses along. With It's a Love, there is enough. She's lying to her kids, and then she's lying to Ersin's family. There is no way that that is going to hold. At some point, it is going to come out that she is lying. So not only has she lied to her children, giving them a false father all these years, she's now lying to a family that is going to over time grow to accept these kids, only to learn that they are not even part of the family. That is one. At the end of episode 2, after the DNA test comes back positive, convincing the family that the kids are Erson's, her friend reveals that her plan is to marry Yasin.
Hem sen daha dur. Ben Yasin'le evlenip şu kaleye yerleşeyim. Horon tepeceğiz birlikte.
I cannot tell you how much I loved when she said that, because my mind immediately fired as to he hasn't shown any interest in her since the beginning. Wouldn't it be funny if at the end of all this, or as the story progresses, he and Yeshel grow closer together and he starts to fall for her instead of the friend? That is how a drama is set up for me, where I can try and see what might happen in the future, and it's either the writers, one, do what I think is going to happen, which of course I would enjoy, or they do it but do it better, which is even better for me, or they go another way, something I didn't see coming, and they still make it work. When the writers can go the opposite way of what I think is going to happen, but still make it work, I enjoy the drama. When they go the opposite way and manage to make it worse, it's where I quit. Which brings me to the example of Sapphire. Sapphire wasn't bad writing. Let me just put that down right now. I stopped watching after episode 7 so others would have better judgment than me. But when I started watching Sapphire, I obviously thought that Faraya was going to fall for Atesh over time and fall out of love with Yaman. I thought that Yaman was going to keep being this egotistic, angry ex-boyfriend until he lost Faraya's love, but he didn't. Yaman isn't perfect, neither is Faraya or Atesh, so that wasn't a problem for me, but I thought she was going to fall for Atesh. Now this didn't happen, but the reason I stopped watching the series is there was nothing else in the story that held me. I had nothing else to hold on to while they went on the story of Atesh, Faraya and Yaman. The sad thing about me is that I can only care about a few characters at a time. When I was watching Faziletanim, I only cared about Yaz, Hazan, and started caring about Gyokan down the line when he started changing and seeing that his wife wasn't who she was portraying herself to be. So that was 3 people. The reason I kept watching Fazilet was because despite everything else happening that I didn't care about, I cared about 3 people. So when Gyokan was disappointing me, I could hold on to Hazan and Yaz. When Hazan was disappointing me, I could hold on to Yaz and Gyokan. When Yaz was disappointing me, I could hold on to the other 2. And once in a while, there were other storylines happening in the background, like with Hazan's sister and Sanan, that was still enough to interest me. And the story as a whole, even outside of the 3 people, though it frustrated me, it was still something I could hold on to and enjoy the drama. With Sapphire, I had nothing. I mentioned that I didn't have a problem with the female lead, Farai, but the only character I liked in the entire story was Atesh. Not Atesh and Farai, just Atesh. So when it was becoming obvious to me that they were going to put Faraya back on Yaman, I didn't have anything else to hold on to. I didn't care about Faraya's friend. I didn't care about the guy that Okan almost killed by throwing in the water. I didn't care about the story with Bade. I think that's how you pronounce her name. I didn't care about Atesh's grandfather or whatever was happening with their company. I only cared about Atesh. So obviously that story couldn't hold for anything. There was no amount of drama they could put that interested me, and I had to quit. Not because the story was bad, but because going in there was no character that was given enough substance apart from Atesh to interest me, and liking only one person doesn't keep me there because the other stories were not interesting me at all, so I had to unfortunately let go of Sapphire. Now back to It's a Love. This series started off on rocky ground for me. The female lead, Yeshel, drives me up the wall. I'm going to break down why she does, but overall I am still very interested in the drama because I don't care for one person. I care for what is going to happen to Yeshel when her lie is finally revealed. I care about Yasin a lot. He looks like a very good person, and so does his sister. I care about his brother, Ersin, who the lie is being placed on, and the entire family as a whole. While I don't really care about his parents, they have an importance that I can accept. So while Yeshel drives me up a wall and is very annoying, I have Yasin, his sister, and the drama plot as a whole until Yeshel stops frustrating me. Now that I've mentioned her frustrating me, let me tell you why she frustrates me. The plot of this is she wants to protect her kids from the man that took Ersin's life. And what does she do to do this? She makes the kids think that Ersin is their father. And when she leaves prison, she goes to his brother to try and sell the story to him, to make him feel obliged to accept these kids into their home. On the surface, yeah, this might look like her only plan, but it has been, I don't want to use a harsh word so it doesn't look like I'm so against her, but it has been, forgive my language, stupid from the very beginning. Ersin didn't lose his life by accident. He came to save her from a marriage, and he was shot point blank dead. No conversation, no fight. It's not like he threw himself at the man and they struggled over a gun and it accidentally went off. He came to save her. The man that wanted to marry her saw him running away with her and shot him dead. There was no struggle, there was no fight. So that means one thing: the man that killed him doesn't care about anything. He doesn't care about repercussions. He doesn't care about consequences. He doesn't care. So how does you going to Ersin's family protect your kids? Reveal it to me, Yeshel. Tell me, how does it protect your kids? And it's even proven more in episode 2 when the man sends his bodyguards or family to the family's house. And how did he find their house, mind you? He went to Yasin's colleague and nearly beat the boy to death. That's how he found their address, by threatening and beating someone else within their life. And you can argue that Yeshua doesn't know this, but do you know what she knows? She knows that he can point a gun at Yasin. Now, before I go on, I don't know if they're trying to market her plan as a desperate plan that I should understand. I hope not, because I don't understand.
Kötü niyetli olmuş olabilir ama anne yani sonuçta.
Ben de bir anneyim. O beni düşündü mü Yasin?
I understand her reason. I don't understand or tolerate her plan. It is frustrating because it's like a sponge. It's just leaking. I don't know if anyone has had this problem with TV shows and movies that came after 2019, where you watch it and you wonder who sat down to write this. And then you also wonder, the people that edited and worked on it also saw the story and approved it. Then the producers and the people invested in the story read it and said, this is actually something that is interesting and will make bank. That is how I see Yesel's plan. She wrote it in her head as a good idea. The other women in the prison are the editors and the other writers that hear her plan and support it as a good idea and help her produce it while she is in prison. When I say producing it while she was still in prison, I'm talking about Aisha, her friend who obviously left prison before her and infiltrated the family by making herself a friend of the family before Yeshel came out of prison. They had 7 years, I think, to plan this, and none of them thought, this is actually a very dumb idea. This will not work. Because if the man she is running from could shoot Ersin point blank without a fight, without a thought, what makes them think he will stop at that and not go after the family? So now she's not only endangering her children's lives, she's endangering the life of the man to which she claims she owes everything. His brother's life is in danger, and by episode 3, his brother's career is in danger. I'm very sure they're not marketing this plan as a decent plan. It is dumb. Furthermore, another thing that annoys me about her is she knows she's in the wrong. but she feels like she's only doing wrong to Ersin's memory. That is what I can't stand. It's what's really eating into me. She would do what she does, shout at the family, try and stake her claim for her children, then go to cry to Ersin that I'm sorry for making you out to be a liar. How about now that you're in their house? How about you try to be kinder to the people whose lives you are turning on its head? The reason I'm saying this is because, okay, fine, she really needs to get in the house and they wouldn't allow her unless she puts her foot down. So she puts her foot down, the DNA has come out, they have no other choice but to accept it, but she keeps trying to fight with them. And I know you can say they're fighting with her too, but that is their right. She is the one bringing them something they can't believe. They shouldn't just accept her just because she has Ersin's kids. But they do accept the kids. But in her continuously fighting them on everything instead of placating them and trying to make them understand her position, she's also making life for the kids hard because the kids are going to, by proxy, receive any hate that is thrown towards her. Well, that is before episode 3 anyway, because after they confirm that the kids are Ersin's, they try to start treating the kids with more love. That aside, we're gonna stay episode 1 and 2 for her plan. She has so little care for the lives that she's endangering. In episode 2, obviously this man has no scruples, so he comes to their house and points a gun at Yasin. She doesn't even flinch at the thought that this man might be killed. She is just worried about herself, and I don't fault that. I don't mind selfish characters. But pushed against the wall, instead of her to keep hitting on the head that these people are evil and they want to take her kids, she starts to threaten the family that
Hepinizi rezil ederim. Hepinizi. Seni de Gülender Hanım.
I'm sure this was part of the plan. She would not do this because she keeps crying that she loves and respects Ersin, but it's just to pull the family's legs, force them to keep her in the house. Fine. But that is a plan that came out of her mouth. And no one in her table of writers and editors told her that, what if this man you are running from also does the same thing, just to harm the family? In episode 3, he kidnaps the kids with Ersin's sister. He frames Yasin for doping before a game, so Yasin's career is in danger. So what made her think that he would not be capable, just to ruin the family's reputation, of telling the world or leaking to the press that Ersin has a love child from a mistress that was in prison? That is what I'm talking about when I say her story completely has no bounds. It doesn't hold water. It leaks. And even more so, I don't know if the writers are doing this on purpose, but I hate when she argues with the family and the family sort of back off like she's right. She is not right. Yes, she's right that Yasin should be kinder to the children because obviously he also, like the kids, believes that he's her uncle. But why don't you show her, and I'm talking just episode 1 to 3 here, maybe she would do it later on, but why don't you show her for once, openly accept the position that she's putting this family in? She has made Ersin, in essence, a liar, a cheater, and someone who he wasn't. But she never tries to understand their position. She wants them by force to understand hers. I don't want to go too deep, so I'm going to link this as to why a drama is good and bad. From the beginning, Yesho's character is enough to make me stop watching the series. This won't be for everyone, but I am not stopping. Just as in Sapphire, Yaman's character was enough for me to stop the series episode 2 because he was making so many dumb mistakes. But I kept going then too. A good drama can drive me up the wall with its dramatics, and I wouldn't necessarily care or mind even though it's frustrating me. Me being frustrated and annoyed is never enough to quit a drama because it is a drama. A drama is meant to do things that will drive you crazy. But its ability to balance that with something of interest in the future and in the present is what makes a good drama for me. Because of her, I won't say lack of care, because of her ignorance to how much danger she's putting this family in, I was very happy at the end of episode 3 when her children got kidnapped. I might sound cruel, but I feel like she doesn't realize how bad her plan is yet. Till that happens, she still thinks that these people will not attack her if she's with this family. I don't mind her staying with the family. I don't mind her lying to stay with the family. That is part of the drama. But I want to start seeing her recognize that this plan is idiotic and start making changes. I think somewhere in the prison, someone over there had the mentality that most people in dramas have, that wealth means safety. Oh, Ursin's family is rich. If I take my kids there, they live in this, as her friend Aisha calls it, castle, and nothing would happen to you for as long as you are in that castle. That is the lie she fed herself. 7 years in prison. But money doesn't keep you safe, especially if your enemy has more money too. The man she's running from is filthy rich. Not only is he filthy rich, unlike this family, he doesn't have morals. He shot their son dead, knowing he will not go to prison. You shot him, the attacker, and you went to prison. So how is it that someone could convince you that you will be safe in their house? But again, that is why I'm enjoying this drama. Her plan doesn't hold water and she doesn't see it. So at the end of episode 3, there is no doubt that she sees it now. Because they didn't only kidnap her children, they kidnapped Ursin's sister. I can't pronounce her name, I'm sorry. But she is innocent. She is one of the few people that is now going over and beyond to make the kids comfortable, because this woman has convinced her that these are her brother's kids. And it's because of this point that brings me to what makes a good drama again. I don't mind her flaws. I don't mind her stupid plans, because there's always a little something for me to look forward to. The thing about dramas and me, even TV shows in general, is that I am not too hard to please. I love the Fast and Furious franchise, but I've grown to hear that not a lot of people like it. So there's that. But that's my biggest example. Something doesn't have to be so deeply thought out, so perfectly written, Emmy award-winning story. I don't need those things. But I'm also very easy to lose. That is why I'm still here in this series, and I think I'll still be here for the long run, but I couldn't be there for a series like Sapphire and Hide Me. I can't pronounce the Turkish name. I couldn't be there for those two series because they gave me nothing to hold on to. Not the characters, not the story, not the plot. So while I understood the plot and it made sense, it didn't interest me, and the characters didn't interest me, and I had nothing to look forward to as to what might be. I did for a time though. I had an interest in finding out what would happen when your man realizes that this is his child. It's going to be so dramatic and all that, and then it happened and it was just okay. That's what lost me. The story didn't hold water for me. That will lead me to my second example. I mentioned before that whenever I watch a drama, I predict. So for this story, I can see that at some point, after the family has accepted her children as their grandchildren, it is going to come out one way or the other that those are not Ursin's kids. So because of how she's acting now and how much danger she's putting this family in with her lie, I can hold on long enough to see what happens when the truth comes out, because I want to see how she defends this. That is one. The second setup for this is that I don't know if this is going to happen, but I feel like her and Yasin are going to grow closer together and maybe start to have romantic feelings for each other. I don't know. I'm just saying it's a prediction. The reason I'm predicting this is because her friend, who seems very interested in getting into this house and into this family by marrying Yasin, seems like the one who's been giving her bad advice. When I say bad advice, it's that there are moments where they show that she doesn't like her plan. Not because she thinks it's stupid, which it is, but because she's obviously hurting people, right? There are moments when she does that. And in one of these moments, Aisha comes in to tell her, no, you are doing the right thing. Ursin is dead. You are not destroying anyone's home, but she is. Her friend is effectively giving her bad advice, and she goes on to say, are you worried about Ursin's wife? She's a witch. trust me, I've been in this family long enough. She deserves this. First of all, whether she's a witch or not, she doesn't deserve this. But that is another seed that is planted for something that's going to happen in the future. If Yasin doesn't fall in love with Aisha as she wants, but instead falls for Yeshul and the kids, Aisha might turn against Yeshul and cause the family to find out that these are not Ersin's kids. She essentially might become the reason the entire plot that they made from the beginning falls apart. That is what I call seeds. So while the drama is still on rocky ground right now, I can look into the future and see, you know what, this might happen, this might not. And if the writers don't do this, like I mentioned before, it's fine as long as what they do is also good enough. And if they do this but better, there is no way I'm not going to stay till the end to enjoy it. Let me give you an example of them doing this but better, with two stories. The first one, of course, is Fazilet.
Ay buzdolabı hiç aşık olmamış.
Hiç.
When I started watching, I thought Yaz and Hazan were going to fall in love. But then she started going after Sinan, and after his mom died, Sinan started showing interest in her. My original future seed plant was that she and Yaz would get together. But when Sinan started showing real interest in her, I thought, oh, it's going to be that he stops being who he is, as in this playboy who doesn't care about the lives that he ruins and his lies, and he starts to become a better person to be deserving of Hazan's love. I mean it when I say this. I completely forgot the storyline of love happening between Yaz and Hazan. I wrote it off as, okay, so now Yaz is now the one that is faced with loving someone his brother loves, and maybe towards the end they're going to bring a woman to win his heart and take him away back to America. Over time, even though I enjoyed their friendship and I enjoyed that Yaz and Hazan were becoming better friends, I stopped thinking about them getting together. No matter how many times her sister said it.
Ne dediğini anlamıyorum bile. Yağız'la aranda bir şey olmadığını emin misin sen?
No matter how many times Sinan accused them of it, I didn't see it happening. I had given up hope. But the episode came when Yaz was finally done and he was ready to leave for America, as he had said all this time that he wanted to do. By this time, Sinan and Hazan were still going strong. They had not had any fights anymore. They had fixed their relationship, everything. I was not ready for when Hazan found that ticket and nearly broke down. I sat in my chair saying, no.
Bu kadar çabuk olacağını tahmin etmemiştim. Yani senin halletmen gereken şeyler yok mu? İş, ailevi sorunlar.
No, she's actually in love with this dude.
Zaten ararsın sen. Ben de, yani biz de ararız.
The joy in my heart. That is the writers doing what I thought would happen and doing it right. Maybe you're not like me. Maybe you saw from the start that she was going to end up with Yaz anyway. But I thought, oh, they were going the other direction. But I didn't mind, because though they were not doing what I wanted, I was still enjoying the characters and the story that was going on. Because Yaz had all these fights with Gökhan and his wife. There was so much drama surrounding his dad and his marriage. It was really interesting. I love watching dramas because they have dramas to feed me, but not when the drama gets excessive. But I was so away from Yaz and Hazan. Yes, I know that the basketball scene was very nice, but I'm a very strong believer that boys and girls can be friends, and very good friends. So that didn't sell it to me. It was her inability to even process that he was leaving. She nearly said, leave me. I sat there just thinking of so much drama that awaited them in the future, because Hazan had denied anything happening between them. And even after the scene where I got my confirmation that she was at least in love with him to an extent, Hazan was still denying. She denied it even when her sister pointed out that something has made her fall out of love with Sinan. She denied it when everyone, including her mom, pointed it out. It was only when someone said it outright to her face that she started panicking.
Ahlaksız. Sevdiğim dediğin adamın abisinden gözünü alamayan bir ahlaksızsın sen.
That's what I call the writers doing what I thought they would do, but better. Because I didn't see it coming, and that scene is just imprinted in my head. The girl had no words. And she had no words because she didn't want Yas to leave because she liked him. But Hazan doesn't know that. I know that.
Ne yapıyorsun sen ya? Ne yapıyorsun?
So whenever I watch a drama and they set things up for me but still make it interesting even though I knew it was going to happen, there is no way I'm leaving. Because now, not only do I want to watch when she finally confesses to him, I want to watch their world fall apart because it will. But after it falls apart, it eventually is going to be built back up again, which makes a good drama. You see the level point, the start, the dramatic points, the highlights, and then you watch the end where everything gets resolved. That is how dramas are for me. The other drama I'm going to mention that did this very well was Aziz. I don't know how many of you have watched the show Poldark, but Aziz looks like the Turkish version of Poldark, where I think he was a soldier even at the start. He saves a girl's life. In Aziz anyway, Aziz saves a girl's life, but in the end someone gets killed and he has to run away from his family, leaving the woman he loves. And when he comes back, she is engaged to his cousin, and he has his father's shop that is dying that he tries to focus on and give all his energy to since he no longer believes in love. In Poldark, I think Poldark was serving as a soldier, but his group gets attacked and his family believes he's dead. The woman he loves then also gets engaged to his cousin. When he returns, he has to focus on his father's mind that is dying so he can save it. I don't usually like watching remakes because sometimes they look like they're word for word the same thing as the original. Since I watched Poldark, I knew there were some things that were going to happen. But Aziz, while I already could tell the storyline because I'd already watched Poldark, had a way of twisting your story, so while it did match in many things, there were other things that were really an improvement for me. One, in Poldark, after he marries Demelza, he at some point cheats on her with the woman he loved at the beginning, and she finds out and it gets their marriage into a rocky place.
It is not my pride that is wounded, Ross. It is my pride in you.
In Aziz, he offers to marry Efnan to save her from going to marry a man she didn't want, but she believed he was doing this out of love because he gave her gifts, he combed her hair, he was nice to her. And then she follows him at some point and sees him sleeping with the woman he loved at the beginning. So she calls off the engagement and runs away. And while she's on the run, he starts to see how he actually did start feeling things for her.
Bugün de benim son görüşün zaten. Yarın benden kurtulduğunda arkandan hayır dağıtırsın.
And when she agrees to come back, they build their relationship up. So while his relationship with the first woman was still there, he never cheated on her after she came back. In Poldark, I really didn't like that he cheated. I was so upset. So I'm glad they didn't play that out in the story, even though I thought it would come and it did. In Poldark, his relationship with his cousin also became strained, but after he married Demelza, his relationship with his cousin became better until the cousin unfortunately died. In Aziz, his relationship with the cousin was on shaky ground, even more so when it was obvious that the wife was still very much in love with him, and then the cousin lost his mind.
Adem Allah aşkına yapma.
Adem bırak dedim.
Dilruba nerede? Sen kaçırdın onu benden. Yerini sen biliyorsun.
I already had the plot, thanks to the story I watched before, but they made it interesting still, despite the new characters and then the new storylines and then the new plot lines that they gave me. Aziz did that and did it well. They took a story I already knew, with plot lines I could suspect, and they still made it enjoyable. Sapphire didn't go the way I thought it would. She didn't fall in love with Atesh, but that's fine. She was still in love with Yaman, which made a lot of sense. They had been in love since they were kids. I don't mind. But the reason I couldn't stay on is because I didn't care for Yaman. I didn't care for his love with Faraya, so that was cancelled. I only liked Atesh, but I also didn't care for any other story outside of him. The plot wasn't holding me. That was the problem with Sapphire, and that is why I stopped watching it. With Hide Me, the story was interesting at the beginning, but it had things just like in It's a Love that I don't like. Reading a lot of books and watching a lot of TV shows has made me very annoyed by certain storylines, especially Turkish Disease and Asian series. Now, when I say agencies, this is not annoyance as much as it is uncomfortable. I don't like bullying storylines in Asian series because they get very, very graphic. If anyone has watched The Glory, I started and stopped that series 3-4 times. I had to watch it through reactors to be able to make it. I don't like those things. They make my skin crawl. Their bullying or their hard life stories gets hard. So their stories get very intense. But sometimes the story is enough to push me through. So even if it's not something I like to watch, I would pull through and watch it because the storyline has a very good ending. At least a decent ending. Even though I have to watch it sometimes over and over. Sapphire didn't have that. It already had a plot I thought would go one way, and that was the only reason I was watching it, because I couldn't feel anything else for the story. But when it went the other way, it didn't make the writing bad, it just made it not good for me to continue because it wasn't an interesting story for me. Now, I mentioned things I don't like. I hate stories with overly abusive people in main plots. I hate love triangles, yet they're Turkish disease, they're telenovelas, they're stories that have made this work for me. But in Hide Me, they had a love triangle and they also had an abusive person as part of the main leads. Oh, I tried. Because from the beginning, I thought the plot was interesting. She deceives him and he falls for her, only to find out she's the maid of the woman that he wants to marry. I held on until episode 5 and I just couldn't take it anymore. So sometimes they could have an interesting plot like Hide Me, but I didn't like any of the characters yet. For me, there was no instant connection. In It's a Love, I had an instant connection with Yasin and his sister. I like them both. They're presented to be very good people and I like them. So if the drama starts to fall, Yasin and his sister can hold it for me because they have different aspects to their story. Yasin has his football, he now has his brother, he has his family. There's a dynamic with his father where he feels like his father is using him to keep their lifestyle going. The sister is very sweet and very accepting, and now her life's in danger. There are a lot of things that can hold me while Yeşil gets to continue on her path to becoming better. In Hide Me, I didn't necessarily care for anyone, but I did care for where the story would lead. Like I said, sometimes I have things to look forward to that can make me put up with the series if it's getting frustrating at the beginning. And then other times I have nothing. But if the story was good, I would stand it. Like The Glory, I still put up with it. Omar was one of the first Turkish disease, along with Fazilet, that didn't start with a problem. It started with the characters. It started with the seed planting, where, oh, he loves a woman who's older than him and with a kid. Obviously, no one is going to accept this.
Ben bir kadını seviyorum babaanne.
Bir kadını mı? Kadın. Hem de çocuklu.
Omar had the parents set up, their characters shown, and you just could see that everything was going to go wrong. But while things are going wrong, you have the characters. I was invested in the characters before I was even invested in the story. So even if the story is going wrong, I love the characters too much at that point to care. But Sapphire and Hide Me, I didn't feel anything. When I don't feel for the characters, the story can hold me until I do. But if I don't feel for the story and the characters, I can't go on. Another big example is with Yargay. I watched Yargay twice, sorry. The first time, I could only make it past episode 3. I didn't like Jalen. She was really frustrating and annoying. I wasn't even connected to Ilgaz either. I'm not a big fan of law series. I think the only law series I ever watched was Suits. So law and cop stories don't really hold me that well, unless you have something I can hold on to. But when I ran out of Turkish series to watch, I went back and gave it my usual 5-episode try. And after the first 5 episodes, I was really surprised by how Ilgaz and Jalen were handling the situation, and I started getting interested because I started, accepting Jalen as a character as the plot went along. So not every series that I love to death now started as that in the beginning. I didn't like the story Yagai. I wasn't into law or all those things, but when I gave it a chance, the story held its own until the characters began to matter to me. Even Paz, he and his sister. That's a good story. That is how dramas hold me. If your story works, I will grow to love your characters. If your characters work, I will grow to hold on to love your story. And stories that have both a good story and good characters are just a win. That is why Omar and Fazilet are still my favorites till this day, because I was interested in the characters and the story at the same time. But like I mentioned, it's a drama, so at some point the writers will become over dramatic, and so I have to hold on to the characters to keep me in line with the story until the drama recedes. Sometimes the characters will go off base. They have to have new experiences, and the story is going to hold me until my characters come back to me. But Omar and Fazilet, they had their ups and downs, but their characters and their story was always engaging at the same time. Now we come back to It's a Love, which is what we're talking about in this video. The reason this drama is very interesting to me is because it's setting itself up as something that has good story and good characters. Now, I mentioned that Yeshul drives me up a wall, but I don't see her as a bad character. She is a decent person doing a horrible thing. But that is why I like the ending of episode 3. Till that point, she hasn't seen just how much damage her choice can do to someone else. She's still holding on to the fact that she's just doing this for her kids. She wants her kids to be safe. Now, not only are her kids not safe because, once again, this plan was stupid, the people who are now trying to accept her as family are also in danger. Yasin is in danger of losing his career because he's just been accused of doping. Thanks to her, by the way. And the sister is being kidnapped along with her children. I'm not going to put it past Yeshul to only care that her kids were kidnapped. I think after she gets her kids back, she's going to realize that she's putting innocent people's lives in danger. And I pray that she's going to start changing her attitude towards them, because till this point, she's still arrogant. And I get being arrogant when you want to come into their house by force, but they've accepted you and they see now that your lie is the truth to them. Why don't you just calm down and start building a relationship instead of fighting with them? Every scene she tries to make them see her point, but she's tone deaf to what she's doing wrong. Maybe she's not tone deaf. No, she's tone deaf. In essence, as I mentioned before all this, I am a very cheap person to entertain. You don't have to write masterpieces to get me happy with a story. I get interested in things people don't seem interested in, and then I lose interest in things people are very interested in. It happens all the time. A big example of this is with The Golden Cage.
Alara Zeynep Buket gibi biri değil. Böyle bir şey olmayacak. Annem Zeynep'e yaklaşamayacak. Bu sefer buna izin vermem.
It's one of the series that came out at the tail end of 2023, and it's about a man who doesn't want to marry, but he is in a relationship with his secretary while also slowly falling in love with a girl he meets down the line. I had so much hope for this story. Like I talked about seeds and characters. I like the characters, and the seeds for the future where obviously he is going to fall in love with her, and his fear is that his love is going to harm her.
Sevgimin sana zarar vermesinden korkuyorum Zeynep. Neden? Çünkü daha önce verdi.
They never get to what really happened to his wife, which I'm so upset about because I really wanted to know. He blamed his mom for it, and in essence he blamed himself because he believed that his loving her and his marrying her and his bringing her into the family also was what led to her dying.
Ama ben onu korumak için.
Kimden?
Kendimden.
And his secretary, who he was having an affair with, is a liar. She left her family and her son behind to chase wealth, and she faked her death and joined his family only for the man she left behind to find her. This story had so much going for it. I was excited, like as in literally excited as to what was going to happen, only to hear after creating a video for my YouTube that this story has been cancelled because of low viewership. But I watched Safai and Hide Me have the highest following count after Yagai that I've seen ever. So I understand that the series I end up liking are not what everyone ends up liking. That's why I'm going to pose a question to anyone watching this video. What makes a good series for you? Because The Golden Cage had so much, in my eyes, going for it, but it didn't have a lot of followers. Sophia and Hide Me didn't have a lot plot-wise or character-wise to me. I don't really see why everyone is so interested, but maybe you do. Maybe this is a story that you like. So what makes a good drama for you? What makes it so that you sit down and give 2-3 hours of your life to a Turkish dizi, or 40 minutes to a telenovela, or 20 minutes of your day to a Filipino teleseries? What makes you pick and drop a series? That is all. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Tell me what you like and what you didn't like, what you agree with and what you don't. I will see you on the next one.